Blacklisting. How's it going, everyone? KingBlackToof here, and welcome to this video. We're going to go over blacklisting in Gwent. So I'm going to teach you how to use it and what it does. So I hopefully try to do it in a way that is understandable for anyone, a very easy and simple to understand way. So let me know if I've achieved that towards the end of the video. If you've got any questions, let me know then. So what is blacklisting first? It is during a redraw phase, or a mulligan phase, you might call it. When you redraw a card, you prevent any copies of that card from getting drawn into your hand during the rest of that redraw phase, okay? So we'll get onto that a bit more later on, but first let's look at the deck that I'm going to use for this example. So this is a very common Northern Realms deck, and this is a deck which I use a lot, and it has very good areas for blacklisting. So, you know, 4 golds, 6 silvers, and a multitude of bronzes, a lot of which are 3 copies of each other. So first of all, let's just go over what cards I definitely don't want to have in my opening hand with this deck. So the first of all are the Blue Stripes Commandos at the bottom. Now these, I'm going to get these for free in round 1, so I don't want any of these in my hand. These are definitely going to come out by themselves, so we need to get rid of these, definitely. So next we've got the Whiny Sergeant. Now I generally like to use Hensel in this deck to pull all of the Whiny Sergeants out of my deck. So I only want 1 in my hand maximum. Any more and it's just a waste of Hensel. So I need to get rid of 2 of these. I need 1 in my hand only. So next we've got the Tamarian Infantryman at the bottom. So obviously these are muster cards, so when I play 1 the rest will come out for free. So I only want a maximum of 1 in my hand as well. Now technically speaking, I wouldn't mind if I had none in my hand of this card, but for this purpose, we only want maximum of 1 in our hand. And the next card, and the last card that we care about, is Vess. Now, Vess is a card which will come out of our deck for free when we perform a trio, which we will be doing with the Blue Stripes Commandos at the bottom. So she'll come out for free. Everything else is fine. Now, there is some small things, like maybe I don't want Ciri in round 1, but for this purpose, they're the things that I definitely need to deal with the mulligan phase, okay, the redraw phase. So here I've done a mock-up hand from this deck. So in the middle, you've got 10 cards which you could possibly draw in your opening hand. And at the bottom, you've got the deck order. Now, normally you won't see this, but for the purposes of this guide, I've done a mock-up deck order. And it's from left to right. So the top card in my deck is a Blue Stripes Commando, and then a Ballista, and then Ciri, and so forth. And at the bottom of my deck is a Ballista, Margarita, and etc. So it's from left to right. So we're going to go through the blacklist in order, but before we do that, I want to just reiterate what blacklisting is. So blacklisting is when you redraw a card during this redraw phase, you prevent any other copies of that card from being drawn during the rest of that redraw phase. Okay, so you blacklist cards. So for example, if I wanted to blacklist the Blue Stripes Commandos and I chose to redraw it, then it would blacklist the other 2 cards that are in the deck, as you can see. Okay, so these would not be pulled, even if they were going to be pulled. So you blacklist them, and you can't pull any more Blue Stripes Commandos from this redraw phase. So the top of the deck is the Blue Stripes Commando, which I have now blacklisted. So the first redraw would have been him, but now I've blacklisted it, it goes on to the Ballista as the next redrawn card. Okay, so that's just the idea of how blacklisting works. When you redraw a card, any copies of that card in your deck get blacklisted and can't be drawn for the remainder of that redraw phase. Okay, now we're going to go over a particular sequence of an opening hand, a very common one for this deck, and then I'll actually do it in real and talk you through a couple of instances of the opening hand as well. So bear in mind that the redraw phase, this is during the beginning of the game. It could also be with Francesca. It could be in between rounds where you only get 1 redraw. You can blacklist cards there. Now, you may think that that's a bit odd, but the best way to say about it is if you've seen The Guardian from Nilfgaard. That puts 2 copies of a 6 strength silver at the top of your deck, and you will draw 1 in the next round. But if you redraw that card, you won't draw the second one because it blacklists it, although it will stay at the top of your deck. Okay, so let's go into the sequence now. So we've got our deck. Okay, we've got our brand deck. And what are the cards that we don't want in this deck? It was any Blue Stripes Commando, so we're going to get rid of him. We don't want 2 of these Whiny Sergeants, so we're going to get rid of 1 of those. And Vess. Okay, we don't want her. So we've got 3 cards that we want to get rid of. Now, blacklisting is not as simple as just these are the cards I want to get rid of. Let's just redraw them. The order in redrawing them is the important, skillful part of blacklisting. So let's have a look at what each card delivers, so to speak. So Vess, she has no duplicates. She is a silver, so she'll provide no blacklisting. She'll blacklist herself, so you can't redraw her, but she's not going to do anything to the deck. So although I know I don't want her, she's not a good card to redraw first. However, the Whiny Sergeant, there's one of them left in the deck because I've got two in my hand. So I'll blacklist one card, and I've got a 6.66% chance to draw that card if I redrew something else. Okay. The Blue Stripes Commandos, there's two left in the deck somewhere. So I'll blacklist two cards by doing that, and I've got a 13.33% chance to draw one of those Blue Stripes Commandos if I redrew another card first. So if I redrew Vess first, I've got a 13% chance to draw the Blue Stripes and a 6% chance to draw the Whiny Sergeant. So, you know, it's starting to mount up to about 20% chance to draw something I don't want if I redrew Vess first. So we're going to keep Vess to the side because redrawing her first is not a good idea because we've got 20% chance to draw something we don't want. So between the Whiny Sergeant and the Blue Stripes Commando, the Blue Stripes is the best thing to redraw. Okay, because I'm going to eliminate more blacklisting, so it's going to reduce the odds that I'm going to get something that I don't want. So we redraw the Blue Stripes Commando, and that will also blacklist the two of them in the deck. Okay, we now shuffle that Blue Stripes Commando randomly somewhere into the deck. Okay, and we draw the top non-blacklisted card. So we would have drew the Blue Stripes Commando in this scenario because that's at the top of the deck, but since we blacklisted it, we drew the Ballista. Now that will remain at the top of the deck, that Blue Stripes Commando. So, you know, we'll deal with that later, but no more Blue Stripes Commandos can come out of this redraw phase, which is great because that's what we want. Now, the next thing we need to consider is, again, Vess, no duplicates, no blacklisting from her, and we've still got that one Whiny Sergeant that we need to redraw, but it's now an 8.33% chance to draw that card if I redrew something else. And the reason for that is it's only got 12 cards left in the deck because we've got rid of 3 of them via blacklisting. So I don't really want to get rid of this Tamarian Infantryman now because I don't mind having one in my hand. However, I do have to consider how many are left in the deck and what are the odds of pulling one of those duplicates, which would be bad for me. So there's 2 left in the deck, which means 2 blacklist if I do get rid of him. And it's a 16.66% chance to get one of those Tamarian Infantrymen when I do get rid of the Whiny Sergeant. Okay, so lucky for me, in this particular order, it's at the bottom of the deck, but I wouldn't know that normally, so you have to edge your bets. Now, this is a bit of a risk. If I redraw that Whiny Sergeant and I get a Tamarian, then I can use that third redraw, and this is where, you know, you really need to be careful. Sometimes it's best not to do a third redraw if it looks reasonable, but for this case, I have to get rid of the Whiny Sergeant and I have to get rid of Vess. So we're going to get rid of the Whiny Sergeant, even though we've got a high % chance to get a duplicate, but you'll have to risk it. We don't want that Whiny Sergeant in our hand. So we redraw the Whiny Sergeant and we blacklist the other one that's in our deck. And then we shuffle it randomly into the deck and draw the top non-blacklisted card, which was Siri, which is good for us. Now, again, we'll have to consider what are the odds of drawing another Tamarian. And we've only got Vess in our hand that we don't want, but we really don't want her. You know, having her in our hand is really bad. Now, some factions can get rid of cards that are in your hand, like Square Talc and Mulligan things. We've got Ermion and stuff for Skellige, which can redraw and discard things. So, but for this particular deck, we have to get rid of her. So, although she provides no duplicates, no blacklisting, this is our third redraw. And we've got a 20% chance to draw a Tamarian Infantryman from the deck now. But having 2 Tamarian Infantrymen in my hand is not that big a deal, because I didn't plan on using it in round 1 anyway. So you have to consider things like that. So we're going to get rid of Vess. We're going to redraw her. She's going to blacklist herself. So we couldn't redraw her again if we had more redraws. But she'll get shuffled somewhere randomly into the deck. And the top non-blacklisted card will get drawn, which is another Ballista, which is good. This is a great hand. So in the end, we've got a great hand here. We've got one Whiny Sergeant, which is used for Henselt. We've got one Tamarian Infantryman, and we've got no Blue Stripes Commandos, which is exactly what we want, as well as Vess is in there somewhere as well. So the first blacklisting note is, you may notice the deck order at the bottom of the screen is heavily biased towards our unwanted cards. So specifically the cards that we blacklisted. So we've got at the top of the deck an unwanted Blue Stripes, an unwanted Whiny, then Reinforcement, then an unwanted Kedwani, and then an unwanted Blue Stripes. And so why did this happen? And this has happened because of the way we blacklisted. So the Blue Stripes Commando at the top, he was always at the top, but we said we didn't want him. And so he remained at the top. And even cards further down, like the other Blue Stripes Commando and the Kedwani next to him, in the middle, these were quite far down in the deck. But since we started drawing cards from the top of the deck, while also blacklisting those, they kind of moved up into the deck. So it kind of squashes all the blacklisted cards together towards the top of the deck. So it becomes, you know, very dangerous for us to draw more cards. So this is why using Avalak is very bad at the very beginning. And this is generally the reason why a lot of people feel after they redraw a card, they draw it a lot, you know. Oh my god, it put it right at the top of the deck again. But this is generally the reason, because you're drawing cards from the top. So all these blacklisted ones are moving up and getting squashed together near the top. Now, as this deck performs, these Kedwani Sergeant should be used really quickly, and this Blue Stripes Commander should be used really quickly. So provided I'm not drawing cards very quickly in round one, I should be able to eliminate all of these unwanted cards very quickly. So the Blue Stripes Commander should come out, the Kedwani should come out with Henselt, Vest should come out due to the trio, and then we've got a nice deck thereafter. You know, all the unwanted cards are then gone. Apart from maybe the Tamarian Infantryman, which could still be at the top, but then we'd have to use the round redraws to get rid of that. So the second blacklisting note is cards like the Crones and cards like the Witchers. They don't blacklist each other. Even though they're kind of musters, they don't count as the same copy of a card. So whereas the Arrakis are 3 copies of the exact same card, the Witchers and the Crones are not, because they're the Wispess, the Brewess, and the other one. And you've got Eskel, Lambert, and Vesemir, you know, so these are different copies. So you have to treat them as individual silver cards, which have no duplicates, no blacklisting, just like Vess was. Okay, so you have to consider that when you're redrawing these girls. Or guys for the Witcher. So that's about it for the blacklisting presentation. I'm going to move on to the game now, take several decks and go through the redraw and blacklisting method on just some of the beginnings of the game. Okay, and after that, then it will truly be the end. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you've got any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, take care, and let's see if they change the way this works in the upcoming patch, and this whole particular video will be wasted. We'll see. Still viable, still current. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Alright, are you ready? So we're just fighting against the AI just to get this initial...
You want peace? Fight for it.
Mulligan, and just go through it a couple of times. Now, this current deck is the deck that we used as an example during the presentation, so you might recognize it. We've got 2 of these. We don't want 2 of those. We got Vess. Okay, so we do have a bit of flexibility here. We don't have 3 or 4 things to need to redraw, so we can be quite brazen about it. We don't have any Blue Stripes, but we also don't have any Kedwani. We do want 1 of those. So what we're going to do is we are going to redraw Vess and the Tamarians. Now Vess, like I mentioned in the example, has no blacklisting, has no thing, so we do want to get rid of her. We don't want to get rid of her now. She doesn't have a duplicate that we could get, whereas this does have 1 duplicate left in the deck, so we've got a 6.6% chance to get 1 of these if we redrew Vess first. So get rid of that. What do we get? Blue Stripes. We definitely don't want him. We're going to blacklist them straight away. And now, you know, really, that's good. Now, Vess could pull me another one of these. Can't pull me a Tamarian Infantryman because we blacklisted them. And he can't pull me a Blue Stripe. So apart from a Kedwani Sergeant, Vess can't pull me anything bad. But she does have, I think it's a 20% chance to pull me a Sergeant. No, we're good. There we go. Perfect hand there. Now, obviously, this particular deck, I do things a certain way. I built this deck in a certain way. So what I would normally do is Operator.
Welcome, chosen one.
And then I would Kedwani. And then I'd play Kedwani, Henselt, and that would get all my Blue Stripes and all of my Kedwanis out of the deck. Bollocks. Oh, fuck! So that is an excellent example of redrawing and it shuffles it randomly. She was the last redraw I did, so it actually put her right at the top of the deck, which is really fucking annoying. Unless reinforcement shuffles. It does shuffle, so fair enough. That could have been my fault that she got put to the top. But bollocks. But that is the issue. I mean, if you've got a deck that really doesn't care about blacklisting, and there are some, playing Avalak early could be really advantageous to screw up your opponent, especially in the deck that I'm playing where blacklisting is very, very important. Some decks use it a lot more than others, you know. The deck that I'm using here uses it a lot, others don't use it much at all. So let's try again, see how we do.
The heart of an uncrate.
Men of Kedwen, attack!
And then I think I'll go on to monsters, show you some of that. Right, so we've got one of them, which is good. One of them is good. Wow, that's pretty much a perfect hand there. So you don't do any. Now I might be tempted to do that. There's no real need to do it, but because I mean I don't plan on playing them round 1. I normally leave them for round 3 when they're 7 strength, and it's like a good 21 strength play. But let's do it and see what we get. I mean, that's even better. Yeah, that's that. Oh, that was a fucking good one. That was a good example of blacklisting, wasn't it? I mean, that can happen, but then the opposite can happen, where you get 3 blue stripes commandos and 3 Whiny Sergeants, so you got like 6 cards or 5 cards you want to redraw.
Patience is not a virtue I am known to have.
You're one piece.
We'll try again one more time. First time you're moaning. Right, okay, good. This is good. We've got 1 Whiny, which we want to keep. So we're not going to blacklist any of him. So we've always got the potential of drawing one. So you have to be careful about that. But one of these, so he's definitely the one that I'm going to redraw probably first. We don't have Vest or anything. Maybe I don't want Siri, but I don't want to risk pulling anything else for now. So get rid of the blue stripes. So 2 blue stripes in the deck are going to get blacklisted. We've got Thunderbolt, which is... This is good. This is a good hand. We don't have any operator, which is kind of important, or reinforcement, and so I might be tempted to get rid of him, but then I could get another one of these. But I do have a 3rd redraw, but I could get a Kedwani and then Vest, and it could be really horrible. Let's have a look. I mean, at this point, I might just call it. I might just leave it here. I think this is all right. But if we did do it, a 3rd one of those is fine. You know, not much for the Reaver Scout. The Reaver Scout hasn't got anything to do here, because they're going to be pulled out with Hensalt. Blue Stripes Commandos are going to be pulled out with the Kedwanis. Tamarian Infantryman are all going to be done. So he is a wasted card now because I pulled that. So you might have to consider doing that. No. So we played it wrong, but I would have actually just gone and stopped doing it after the first redraw. That would have been where I'd have called it quits there. But we could have seen what could have happened if I'd carried on. So let's do a monsters. The monsters have quite a few cards which you wouldn't want to get. Foglets, you don't want any. Arrakis, you don't want any, or 1, depending on if you're using Behemoths or whatever. Let's see what we got. Right, so Frosts I don't want any, because the Wild and Hounds pull Frost. Crones, I don't want more than 1. 1 is fine. So this is looking alright. We'll get rid of that. I've got 3 Frosts in this deck, so this is going to blacklist 1 of them. Still going to have to use another one on this. And there's my second Crone. So remember, Crones don't blacklist each other, so by putting this one away I could get the 3rd one. No, but I got a Foglet. So that was kind of an unfortunate set of events. It means that I'm in a bad shape here a little bit. Only a tiny bit. I mean, that Foglet, just don't play him and then redraw it later. And just make sure you use Fog to get all the others out first. You know, that type of thing. But he would know that I've got a Foglet in my hand, so he might feel like he can push a bit more. You know, you obviously don't want to risk getting Crone. Let's just quit and see what we do get in our second draws. But remember, this mid-round mulligan, this redraw, this also has its own blacklisting if I've got cards that I don't want the same of. I should have used them in round 1, technically. Okay, let's get rid of that Foglet, and okay, so I mean, ideally these would have gone if I'd have actually fought round 1. You want to use the Wild and Hounds to make sure you get rid of them and stuff. And he's used Navalak, and there's my second Buress, so, you know. So the initial mulligan is what I was trying to show there, and that one is not always going to work, but this is how it's supposed to work, you know, bit of skill involved there. The order in which you do it is very important, and sometimes you can be in a bad spot and you're always going to get something bad, but you limit what the weaknesses is. You are, you know, limiting your bad hand by playing it well. So thanks for watching, take care, see you again very soon.
Pam param, pam pam param.